Welcome to the Complete Aviation Solutions Deep Dive, number 32. We're going to be taking a look at some major stories developing all around the world in aviation, from some legal battles brewing in the U.S. to some exciting new air ambulance services taking off in Australia. Are you ready to explore these stories?
Let's dive in. Sounds like we got a fascinating mix of developments to unpack today.
We do. Let's start with one you might be familiar with. Remember the Northeast Alliance? That partnership between American Airlines and JetBlue, approved back in 2021. Well, it's facing some serious headwinds.
That's right. The alliance was designed to streamline schedules, routes, and resources primarily in the northeastern U.S., but it caught the attention of the Biden administration, who argued that it was stifling competition and ultimately hurting consumers.
And a judge agreed, not only blocking the alliance, but issuing a 10-year ban on similar partnerships. That's a big blow.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is that American Airlines is now taking this fight all the way to the Supreme Court, appealing the decision in hopes of a reversal.
Yeah, this case could have huge consequences for the future of airline partnerships. I mean, if the Supreme Court sides with American Macking, it could pave the way for more alliances and potentially reshape the entire landscape of the industry. It's a fascinating legal battle to watch, and it raises some really interesting questions about the balance between collaboration and competition in aviation.
Absolutely. And while American fights for this alliance, JetBlue is already dropping hints about new potential partnerships. Do you think they're trying to get ahead of the curve in case the Supreme Court upholds the ban?
It's certainly a strategic move. They could be positioning themselves to quickly form new alliances if the legal landscape shifts in favor of these types of partnerships. Or maybe they've recognized some potential downsides of having such a close alliance and are looking to diversify their collaborative efforts. It'll be interesting to see what direction they take.
Now let's shift gears and touch down in Australia, where CareFlight is making waves with a brand new air ambulance base at Newcastle Williamtown Airport.
This is a significant expansion for CareFlight, strategically positioning them to serve not only residents of New South Wales, but also the entire Pacific region. They're deploying a King Air B200 turboprop and a Beechjet 400 XT. This is adding to their already impressive fleet of fixed-wing aircraft, which includes G150s and a whole fleet of King Air B200s.
That's quite the lineup. What do you think is driving this push for expanded coverage?
I think it really highlights the increasing importance of air ambulance services, particularly in geographically diverse areas. By having a permanent base in Newcastle and a range of aircraft types, they can respond quickly and efficiently to medical emergencies across vast distances.
Makes you think about the impact this could have on healthcare access in remote areas, doesn't it?
Yeah.
This kind of expansion could be a game changer for people who might otherwise struggle to access timely and critical medical care. Okay, let's switch gears again and talk about an airline with big plans for the stock market. Etihad Airways, the flag carrier of the United Arab Emirates, was all set to launch a major IPO.
They were indeed, aiming to raise $1 billion by offering a 20% stake to investors. This would have been the first Gulf carrier to go public in almost 2 decades.
Right. But in a surprising turn of events, they've decided to postpone the IPO, pushing it back to the second quarter of 2025. What do you make of this delay? Does it raise any red flags for you?
It's certainly an intriguing development. While the airline hasn't given specific reasons for the delay, there are a few possibilities. They could be waiting for more favorable market conditions, perhaps concerned about recent economic volatility. Or maybe they've reassessed their internal financial goals and just need more time to prepare.
That makes sense. An IPO is a major undertaking, and timing is everything. It'll be fascinating to see how this plays out and if the delay affects investor confidence when they do eventually go public. Now let's talk about a nation that's determined to revive its national airline. Ghana is taking another shot at establishing a flag carrier after several previous attempts fell through.
This time, the newly re-elected president, John Dramani Mahama, is leading the charge, calling for a transparent selection process to find the ideal partner. This is a crucial step considering past attempts involving Ashanti Airlines, Ethiopian Airlines, and Egypt Air faced various challenges.
It seems like they've learned from those previous experiences and are taking a more cautious approach this time around. What do you see as the potential benefits and challenges for Ghana in establishing a successful national airline?
Well, a successful national airline could bring significant benefits to Ghana, boosting tourism, increasing trade opportunities, and enhancing connectivity within the region. However, the aviation industry is fiercely competitive. They'll need to carefully navigate financial considerations, operational complexities, and the ever-changing global landscape.
It's a high-stakes gamble, but if they play their cards right, the rewards could be substantial. Now, before we move on to our final story in this segment, let's talk about an airline with an insatiable appetite for expansion. It seems like Qatar Airways is on the verge of placing a massive order for wide-body aircraft.
That's right. Reports indicate they're in talks with both Airbus and Boeing, and an announcement could come as early as next month. This is especially interesting considering they already have a whopping 198 aircraft on order, including a mix of A321neos, A350 Tenisons, B737-10s, B787-9s, B777-8Fs.
Wow, that's a serious commitment to growth.
Yeah.
What do you think is driving this aggressive expansion strategy, and what kind of impact could it have on the global aviation market?
Well, it's clear they're looking to solidify their position as a major global player. This order could be about expanding their network, adding capacity on popular routes, or even modernizing their fleet with newer, more fuel-efficient aircraft.
It's a bold move that's sure to shake things up. We'll be keeping a close eye on this development, that's for sure. We've covered a lot of ground already, but we're just getting started.
What's fascinating about Qatar's potential order is that it kind of signifies a trend we're seeing in the aviation industry. Airlines are emerging from the pandemic with this renewed focus on expansion, particularly in the wide-body market.
Yeah, it's like they're betting on the return of long-haul international travel in a big way. But with nearly 200 planes already on order, this new deal could give them a significant advantage in terms of capacity and reach. Where do you think they're planning to deploy all these new planes?
That's the million-dollar question. It's likely a combination of factors: expanding into new markets, increasing frequency on existing routes, and perhaps even phasing out older aircraft to improve fuel efficiency and reduce operating costs. They're clearly aiming to be a dominant force in connecting major cities across the globe.
It makes you wonder how this will impact other airlines, especially those already grappling with recovery and navigating a volatile economic landscape. Competition is going to heat up.
Yeah.
Speaking of competition, let's circle back to that American Airlines and JetBlue situation. You mentioned earlier that the Supreme Court's decision on their alliance could have like a ripple effect on the industry. Can you elaborate on that?
Absolutely. The core of this case revolves around antitrust law, specifically whether the Northeast Alliance unfairly restricts competition and harms consumers. American Airlines is arguing that the alliance actually benefits consumers by allowing them to compete more effectively against larger airlines like Delta and United, ultimately leading to lower fares and better service.
So it's not as simple as just saying all alliances are bad. It depends on the specific circumstances and how they impact the overall market, right?
Exactly, and that's where the rule of reason comes into play. This legal principle requires courts to weigh the potential pro-competitive benefits of an agreement against any potential anti-competitive harm. In simpler terms, they have to assess whether the alliance on balance helps or hurts consumers.
Okay, so it's a nuanced legal argument, and the Supreme Court's ruling could set a precedent for future airline collaborations. If they side with American Bread, it could open the door for more alliances, potentially leading to consolidation within the industry. But if they uphold the ban, it sends a clear signal that regulators are prioritizing competition and consumer protection.
Precisely. It's a pivotal moment for aviation, and the outcome will likely shape the industry's landscape for years to come. Now let's turn our attention back to Etihad Airways and their intriguing decision to delay their IPO. What are your thoughts on this development?
Well, it definitely makes you wonder about the reasoning behind it. They were poised to make a splash as the first Gulf carrier to go public in nearly 2 decades. Could this delay be a sign of deeper financial troubles, or are they just being cautious given the current economic climate?
It's hard to say for sure without more information from the airline. However, it's worth considering the broader context of the Gulf carrier market. These airlines, known for their luxurious offerings and extensive global networks, have faced growing competition from low-cost carriers and changing travel patterns.
The pandemic likely added to those challenges, forcing many airlines to reevaluate their strategies and adapt to a new reality.
Absolutely. Etihad, in particular, has undergone significant restructuring in recent years, streamlining operations, focusing on key markets, and forming strategic partnerships. It's possible that the IPO delay is simply a reflection of their ongoing efforts to position themselves for long-term success, ensuring they present a strong investment case when they do eventually go public.
It's a smart move to be prudent, especially in such a dynamic and often unpredictable industry. They don't want to rush into something as significant as an IPO without being fully prepared. Now let's revisit Ghana's ambitious goal of relaunching its national airline. Do you think they have what it takes to succeed this time around?
It's certainly a challenging endeavor, but not impossible. They've acknowledged past missteps and are emphasizing transparency in their search for a strategic partner. This is a positive sign, suggesting they're taking a more measured and strategic approach.
And what about the potential benefits for Ghana? We touched on them briefly before, but I'd love to hear more about the impact a successful national airline could have.
The potential benefits are significant. A thriving national airline could bolster Ghana's international image, boost tourism revenue, create jobs, and enhance regional connectivity, making it easier for people and goods to move within Africa. It could also stimulate economic growth by facilitating trade and investment.
It's fascinating to think about how aviation can act as a catalyst for development and connect countries to the global stage. But as you mentioned earlier, the industry is fiercely competitive. What are some of the key challenges Ghana will face in establishing a sustainable airline?
One of the biggest hurdles is securing adequate funding and attracting experienced management with a proven track record in the aviation industry. They'll need to develop a robust business plan that addresses the specific needs of the African market, while also being adaptable to the ever-changing global landscape.
They'll need to navigate fuel price fluctuations, geopolitical uncertainties, and evolving travel trends. It's a complex puzzle, and they'll need to assemble the right pieces to achieve success.
Indeed, and it's not just about launching the airline, it's about ensuring its long-term viability. They'll need to focus on operational efficiency, customer satisfaction, and a strong brand identity to stand out in a crowded marketplace.
Now, before we shift our attention back to those eye-catching developments with the Qatar Airways, let's take a moment to delve deeper into the world of air ambulance services, as exemplified by CareFlight's expansion. This might seem like a niche area of aviation, but it plays a vital role, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Air ambulance services are often the lifeline for people in remote areas or those requiring specialized medical transport. They provide critical care in emergency situations, transport patients between hospitals, and facilitate organ transplants. It's a truly life-saving sector of the aviation industry.
And it's not just about transporting patients. It's about providing advanced medical care en route, often equipped with specialized equipment and staffed by highly trained medical professionals.
Exactly. It's essentially a flying intensive care unit, bringing critical care to those who need it most, regardless of location. CareFlight's expansion highlights a growing trend in this sector, with companies like theirs investing in larger fleets, advanced technology, and expanded coverage to meet the increasing demand for these specialized services.
It's remarkable how they're utilizing aviation technology to bridge geographical gaps and ensure that people, even in the most remote corners of the world, have access to quality medical care. Now let's circle back to that blockbuster potential order from Qatar Airways. They're already a major player in the aviation world, but this move could really solidify their dominance. What are your thoughts?
It's a bold move, and it speaks volumes about their ambition and confidence in the future of air travel. This order could catapult them to the forefront of the industry, allowing them to further expand their network, offer more frequencies on popular routes, and potentially even drive down fares through economies of scale.
It's like they're playing chess while others are playing checkers. They're thinking long-term, anticipating future demand, and positioning themselves to capitalize on it.
Precisely. They're not just reacting to current market conditions, they're shaping the future of the industry. It'll be fascinating to see how this plays out and what kind of impact it has on the competitive landscape.
And with nearly 200 planes already on order, this new deal could push their total order book well beyond 300 aircraft. It's a staggering number, and it raises some interesting questions about their long-term strategy.
For example, are they targeting specific regions for growth? Are they aiming to become the undisputed leader in connecting certain parts of the world? What kind of impact will this have on their existing partnerships and alliances? These are all questions we'll be exploring as more details emerge.
It's a dynamic and evolving situation, and we'll be following it closely. Now let's shift our focus back to the legal battle brewing between American Airlines JetBlue and the U.S. government. This case has the potential to set a precedent for future airline collaborations. So it's worth digging a bit deeper.
Absolutely. The heart of the matter is whether the Northeast Alliance, which allows American and JetBlue to coordinate schedules, routes, and resources in the northeastern U.S., violates antitrust laws. The government argues that it stifles competition and leads to higher fares for consumers.
But American and JetBlue counter that their partnership actually benefits consumers by creating a stronger competitor to Delta and United, which dominate the Northeast market. They claim this ultimately leads to lower fares, more flight choices, and better service. It's a fascinating clash of perspectives.
It is, and this is where the rule of reason argument comes in. This legal principle requires courts to weigh the potential pro-competitive benefits of an agreement against any potential anti-competitive harm. In this case, the Supreme Court will have to decide whether the potential benefits of the alliance, such as increased competition against larger airlines, outweigh any potential downsides, like reduced competition between American and JetBlue themselves.
So it's not a simple black and white situation. There are valid arguments on both sides, and the Supreme Court's decision will have significant implications for the future of airline partnerships.
Exactly. If they side with American Airlines, it could signal a more permissive approach to airline collaborations, potentially leading to more alliances and consolidation within the industry. But if they uphold the ban, it sends a strong message that regulators are prioritizing competition and consumer protection.
It's a pivotal moment for the aviation industry, and we'll be eagerly awaiting the Supreme Court's ruling. Now let's turn our attention back to Etihad Airways and their decision to postpone their IPO. It was a surprising move, and it sparked a lot of discussion about the airline's financial health and future prospects.
Indeed. While Etihad hasn't provided specific reasons for the delay, there's been speculation about potential factors including market volatility and
It's understandable that they want to ensure everything is in order before taking such a significant step. An IPO is a complex undertaking, and timing is crucial.
Absolutely. They want to present a compelling investment case to potential shareholders, and rushing into it at a time of uncertainty could backfire. It's a strategic decision that highlights their commitment to long-term success.
Now let's revisit Ghana's ambitious plan to relaunch its national airline. As we discussed earlier, this isn't their first attempt, and previous efforts have faced various challenges. Do you think they have a better chance of success this time around?
It's certainly a challenging endeavor, but not impossible. They've acknowledged past missteps and are emphasizing transparency in their search for a strategic partner, which is a positive sign. They're also highlighting the potential benefits for Ghana, including boosting tourism, creating jobs, and enhancing regional connectivity.
It's clear they're approaching this with a renewed sense of purpose and a clear vision for the role a national airline could play in their country's economic development. But as we discussed, the aviation industry is highly competitive, and they'll need to overcome some significant hurdles.
Absolutely. Securing funding, attracting experienced management, and developing a robust business plan are just a few of the challenges they'll face. They'll also need to navigate a complex regulatory environment, volatile fuel prices, and ever-changing global travel trends. It's a daunting task, but not insurmountable.
And let's not forget the human element. Building a successful airline requires a dedicated and skilled workforce, a strong leadership team, and a commitment to delivering a quality product and exceptional customer service.
You're absolutely right. The people behind the airline are just as important as the planes themselves. It's about creating a culture of excellence, innovation, and customer centricity.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this segment, from potential legal showdowns and ambitious expansions to the complexities of IPOs and the vital role of air ambulance services. It's clear that the aviation industry is constantly evolving. We'll be right back after a quick break to wrap up this deep dive and explore some key takeaways. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground today exploring some pretty fascinating developments in the world of aviation. I'm curious, what are your key takeaways from all these stories?
Well, I think one of the biggest takeaways is that the aviation industry is at a crossroads right now. We're seeing airlines grapple with this complex mix of challenges and opportunities, from navigating a post-pandemic world and this volatile economic climate to embracing new technologies and expanding into new markets.
Yeah, it's a balancing act for sure. And it seems like every decision has the potential to ripple across the entire industry, impacting everything from competition and pricing to consumer choice and the future of air travel itself.
Absolutely. Take the American Airlines and JetBlue situation, for example. The Supreme Court's decision on their alliance could set a precedent for how all future airline partnerships are evaluated. This could influence the level of consolidation we see in the industry.
Right. Makes you wonder if we'll see a future dominated by just a handful of mega alliances, or if regulators are going to step in to ensure a more diverse and competitive landscape. It's a question with no easy answers, and the stakes are high for both airlines and passengers.
And then there's the case of Etihad Airways and their postponed IPO. This decision, while seemingly isolated, actually reflects a broader trend of airlines reassessing their strategies in a rapidly changing market. I mean, they're facing pressure from low-cost carriers, evolving travel patterns, and an uncertain global economy.
Yeah, it's a reminder that even the most established airlines have to be adaptable and willing to adjust course when needed. In Etihad's case, delaying the IPO might be a strategic move to ensure they're in the strongest possible position when they do eventually go public.
Exactly. It's about choosing the right moment to make a bold move and ensuring they present a compelling investment story to the market.
And speaking of bold moves, Qatar Airways' potential mega order for wide-body aircraft definitely falls into that category. It's a statement of intent, signaling their ambition to become a global powerhouse in aviation.
Yeah, this order could reshape the competitive dynamics of the whole industry, particularly in the long-haul international market. It also highlights the growing importance of fuel efficiency and sustainability as airlines seek to reduce their environmental footprint.
It's clear that Qatar Airways is playing the long game, anticipating future demand, and investing strategically to position themselves for continued growth.
And then we have that inspiring story of CareFlight's expansion in Australia, demonstrating the vital role of air ambulance services, especially in those geographically diverse regions. They're leveraging aviation technology to save lives, connect people to critical care, and bridge those geographical barriers.
It's a reminder that aviation is about more than just connecting cities and facilitating travel. It's also about improving lives, providing essential services, and reaching communities in need.
I think that's a really powerful message to end on. The aviation industry, for all of its complexities and challenges, is ultimately about connecting people, enabling progress, and pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
Well said. We've explored legal battles, ambitious expansions, financial maneuvers, and life-saving services today, highlighting just how dynamic and multifaceted the aviation industry really is.
It's been a fascinating journey, and I always enjoy exploring these developments with you.
Me too. It's a privilege to delve into these topics and share our insights with our listeners.
And speaking of our listeners, I would love to hear their thoughts on these stories. What stood out to you the most? Which developments are you most curious to follow? Share your insights and join the conversation.
That's a great point. We value your perspectives and encourage you to engage with us. And until next time, keep your eyes on the skies and your ears tuned to the Complete Aviation Solutions Deep Dive.
Safe travels, everyone.